What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks on a Monday. DJ and Baldy with you. Buck is having some traveling difficulties. Baldy, you made a great call in the group chat, which is it's so well put. Is that they pay us for the travel, not for the work, but travel sucks.
We love doing the work, DJ. We hate the travel, and I was involved in not as bad as Bucky here last night, but connections don't go on time, and I come back home last night, DJ. I'm in New Jersey. Got 8 inches of snow in my driveway at 2 a.m. I got to go get the shovel just to get in the driveway. Was it colder? Because we saw each other yesterday in Kansas City. Was it colder when you landed, or was it colder in KC? I felt like KC in the morning. It was brutal. It was really brutal in the morning. It seemed like when the sun came out, I felt like it was pretty decent. Last night it was pretty rough. It was probably like 8 or 9 degrees last night with the wind blowing. So dumped 8 inches of snow in New Jersey. So, it was a little bit to deal with. But I felt like during the game, I didn't feel like the temperature was any kind of a factor at all.
No, I definitely felt like, too, the way that it kind of worked out for the Chargers was that the sun was shining on their side of the field. You had the shadows and the shade, which is much colder on the Chiefs side of things there. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that game in just a little bit, Baldy. I want to get big picture, and then we'll jump into some of these ball games. But I was just looking at the playoff standings today, and if I asked you this, if I told you could have one field versus another field for who you thought would end up winning the Super Bowl, and if I gave you the top division, the division leaders in the AFC, which is Denver. So you have your choice. You get Denver, New England, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, those 4 teams, or you get the Chargers, Buffalo, Houston.
It's actually a great question because
isn't that interesting?
I take the second field.
Yeah.
I take the second field. I don't know anybody who wants to see Houston. Nobody. I mean,
all these teams are going to have to go on the road, and all of them are built to go on the road.
Yeah. I mean, defense travels. So, Houston, I think, could go anywhere and win. Buffalo, what they did to New England on the road yesterday, I mean, it was more of the Josh Allen. I mean, James Cook had a great game, but it was the whole effort. I mean, all those tight ends in Buffalo had a big say in it. That was a good game to study, but I might take that second tier.
That's what I was looking at. It's just kind of, you pick your head up a little bit and start looking at the seedings this time of year. So we go over to the NFC. And then you look there at the top seeds, the division leaders. You've got the Rams, the Bears, the Eagles, the Bucks. And then those next 3 teams would be Seattle, San Francisco, Green Bay. And I think because of injuries, when you have Bosa and Micah Parsons out, I think that flips that balance of power more towards those division leaders.
Yeah. I mean, losing Micah last night. I mean, it was just, he's the one chess piece that, really made that defense special. All the different things that he can do. And to see him go down, it was just rough yesterday. I mean, we're a league, DJ, that's built on superstars, not stars, superstars, guys that can change the game every Sunday like Mahomes and Parsons can. They're so rare to come by. And to see them both go down yesterday was really tough.
Yeah, there was a whole host of injuries, too. Christian Watson went down. Looks like hopefully he's going to be okay. Devontae Adams, I think, was a hammy, but, it might miss some time, might miss a huge game against Seattle.
That looked pretty severe.
Yeah, so we'll see how, maybe that's a playoff thing when he gets back. But, man, injuries a big, big part of the day. Let's jump into these games, Baldy. To me, and we're calling the same game, so you're probably in the same boat as me, where you kind of peek at some of the scores during some commercial breaks. And I'm looking at the New England-Buffalo game, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, New England is going to run them out of the stadium.
21-0.
Blowing their doors off. And then here comes Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, 35-31. What was your takeaway?
Well, they didn't panic, number one. They got the touchdown before the end of the half to make it 21-7, and then they just kept chipping away. And Josh Allen, I saw Mike Vrabel, somebody asked him about Josh Allen in the post game, and he just put his head in his hands and he's like, you watch the games. Like, you just have to watch him. Like, there's just nobody else like him. You need a first down. He ran 8 times. He had a couple kneel downs, but he really ran 8 times. And 4 of them were first downs. And there's really nothing anybody can do when he wants to take off with it. And then the way that he extends the plays, he made a touchdown throw to Dawson Knox. I mean, New England can't play a better defense. They're too deep, 5 under. They've shrunk every zone there is. And the line does a pretty good job at the front 4. And Josh just gets outside the pocket. And then he just put that bazooka up on his shoulder and just to Dawson Knox, man, like, the defense didn't have a chance to react to it.
You know what the offense reminded me of when I was watching it is it reminded me of kind of the Christian McCaffrey Stanford teams a little bit, where with Andrew Luck being the quarterback, right. And I know they kind of timelines were different, but because you got all these tight ends out there, now you've got a back who's shifty, who can insert anywhere you want. Looks like they got a freaking parade up front with everybody on the line of scrimmage. And then you've got a quarterback who anytime he wants can go just get yards. And then, you got a big arm to be able to create some big plays. But I was going through it. One of the things I don't know that we talk about a lot with Buffalo was the offensive line.
Oh, no doubt. They got them all back healthy for the first time in a couple of weeks.
They were denting the interior of that defensive line, man. They were knocking them off the ball. Yep. They do a lot of stuff with their tackles where they just get the down block. They just get to unload, these down blocks and just wiping dudes and creating some big old creases there. So I was impressed with what they did. I thought they completely reset the line of scrimmage in that game. Even when they're down, they just stayed with the run.
No, they stayed with the run. And it was I posted a video of James Cook because he's like literally 20-something yards behind Jonathan Taylor for the league lead right now in rushing. So he has back-to-back runs, and the second run takes the lead. Final touchdown of the day, 35-31. But he has a run before that. He goes 11 yards up the middle. He comes to like a double stop. Like he stops and he hops and he puts everybody in a freeze, and then he exploded for 11. And then the next one, very next play from the 12, he just smoked it. He just smoked it. He saw it right away. And you just see like that burst of what he has and all the different ways that he can kind of beat you. He had 3 touchdowns yesterday, caught a pass for a touchdown. So like when he's rolling like that, that really gives that offense. It's really kind of difficult to stop. It is tight end based. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, even Jackson Hawes is a great blocker. Caught a couple key passes yesterday. But I didn't see any panic in that team down 21-0. I got to ask you about TreVeyon Henderson, though.
I've got a note for you on that one.
Okay, so let's just go. Right now, he's got 5 touchdowns of 50 yards or more, DJ.
Yep.
Like last year, Saquon had 7, which helped him get to 2,000. But when he came out, there was Quinshawn and him. It was a good back class, right? We're seeing all of them out there, whether it's a Monangai, but we're seeing all the backs play. But did you feel like he could do those kind of home run hitting?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, that was the whole. That's what he did in college. It was just explosive plays, man. A collection of explosive plays. He was an excellent pass protector, and he could catch the ball. But I was watching that tape this morning, and I was looking at. To me, was the draw. You see him outrun everybody, but then the one where you run a toss and you redirect like that. You know what it reminded me of? I don't know anybody used it with him, but Chris Johnson used to do that all the time, man. Like Chris Johnson in the NFL, and you see it even like on kickoff returns, it'll drive you nuts because like, hey, you got to get north and south. This is the NFL. You can't. Right. You're not going to outrun everybody. When you see a toss in the NFL and a guy redirects and out and boat races everybody, like that doesn't happen. Like Chris Johnson did that all the time, and it looks so. It just reminded me of that.
I'm going to go back even further, DJ. I played with Eric Dickerson. I remember we played in Cleveland on a Monday night one time, Municipal Stadium, baseball field, like baseball infield. It was just ugly. And he did one of those where he runs up in the back of the line. We're not getting any movement. He's, his feet aren't stopped, but there was no place to go. And they just went out the back door and just outran the whole defense. Dirt's kicking up off the infield. And then just watch Drake May just to see his speed getting out.
He was rolling. He ended up getting the block. He got able to cut him off.
He was really. You kind of see his breakaway speed because
it was over 20 miles per hour on the GPS they put out. Yeah.
I wouldn't. It doesn't. I don't. It looked like it, but honestly, in some of his runs, and obviously both touchdown runs, there's a part of his game that does remind you of Josh, and he's not as big, he's not as probably powerful, but there is a part of him that when he puts the ball down, he takes off. Like he's difficult to stop.
Yeah, and I think also with Josh, I think if you took, with Drake, if you put a golf club in his hand, if you put a basketball in his hand, a baseball, like he's just going to be one of the best athletes. You can just see the way he plays. And obviously the brothers and the basketball background that he has. Yeah. He's an athlete, man. And it's rare, especially in the era we're in now, Baldy, I think more so where these guys are, you've got the private quarterback coaches, and some of these guys can become a little bit robotic.
Yep.
It stands out when you're like, oh, no, this is an athlete, man. He's like an old school athlete.
I thought at one point he scored a second touchdown run. And at one point I thought he was going to go and dunk it. Like it looked like he was ready to take off. And instead he just, he gave it to one of his guys to go pound it into the turf and spike it. But I think he gave it to Jared Wilson or somebody to spike it. But I honestly thought if he started jumping, that ball was going to get dunked over the goalpost.
Who was it that did that when they had to recalibrate the goalpost?
Oh, he was just hanging on it.
Yeah, hanging on it. The whole thing was
they had to take that out of the game because there were too many guys that were going over that thing.
That's funny. All right, let's get to the game that we were at here. 16-13, the Chargers, they end up knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of different ways we can go, but I'll give you my key play of the game. My key play of the game, Baldy, was end of the first half. It was the kickoff return by Keandre Lambert-Smith.
42-yard line.
Gets them past the 40. I think if they're inside the 30, I think
probably don't start. It was only 38.
Yeah, they might just want to get to the half. Everything had gone wrong. It was like they knew they were going to get the ball coming out in the third quarter. Hey, let's not turn it over. Let's just get to the half. But he gets a nice return. And so that's the key play to me in the game. And they hit Trey Harris on a go ball. And then Keandre Lambert-Smith ends up scoring a touchdown. So not only do they steal 3, they actually steal 7. But that doesn't happen if you don't get that kickoff return.
I agree with that. And just the whole rookie class for the Chargers. I mean, at one point, it was Keandre Lambert-Smith, touchdown, but another play. It was Trey Harris. It was Oronde Gadsden. It was a Marion Hampton. Like, all those guys are out there on the field, and they're all making key plays at some point. And some of them were like back to back to back. I remember just being down the field before the game after I saw you, and I was just kind of hanging out down there. I was watching the kickers. I go, this is going to be a kicking game. There's no wind. The grass is really good. It's the sun's going to melt the ice. I just felt like, Cameron Dicker, what he can do. And then, on the other side, Butker, I felt like it was going to be a field goal game. And that's kind of what it became. And even all the way to the end, where the Chiefs had plenty of chances to go down, at least tie it up. And, Derwin Wade, made the play, to close it all out. But I felt like he ran that route better than Travis Kelce ran that route. Like, he's probably seen it so many times in covering him over the years.
I imagine, when these guys are 60 years old and they're going to see each other probably at, at the Hall of Fame, where they're going to go back there and be around it as they're, Hall of Famers and just be sitting there talking. There's so many games between these teams that have ended with that matchup. Now, several of them, Kelce's had walk-off winners,
no doubt,
in that matchup a couple times. And now Derwin gets his walk-off winner there. But it's just, at some point in time, Baldy, it's like they're paying us for this. Like, getting to watch 2 Hall of Fame guys,
no doubt,
go at it. And even when I'm calling the game and I'm telling money, Kelce catches a couple balls in zone and you get to a key third down. And I'm like, Derwin's he's got to just match up.
Well, he went in motion and there was Derwin going with him.
That's where you knew exactly what you got.
And
that's where I think if Mahomes was in not Minshew, maybe Mahomes goes somewhere else.
Yeah. He probably sees him trailing.
Yeah. But Minshew didn't. And, but man, it was, it was interesting. I did some notes on Gadsden because I want to go back and watch him. They leak him, which is great because he's athletic, so he can give you some opportunities there. Contested catch winners. He's instinctive on scrambles. I mean, that's become a skill, especially with some of the offensive line issues they've had to tackle spots. Herbert's buying time and moving around. You got to have some instincts on a scramble. So Gadsden did a good job of that. And Trey Harris, the go ball at the end of the half. And then he can pull you up on a slant. He's going to, we'll see as Keenan kind of, they're getting everything they can out of Keenan, but when Keenan's time is done, you see, to me, Trey Harris just slides right in there full time.
I agree. He's got the size and he's got the movement. And I mean, both those receivers, I think, are going to be, part of this offense for quite a while. But I also thought, obviously they threw Jefferson out for the one hit, but he had another hit. The way that Derwin hit, Rashee Rice, like they were just cracking some pads yesterday. Like that's how you go and that's how you have to knock the Chiefs out. You got to go let them know. I didn't see the Chiefs making hits like that, but I mean, they came from the secondary. I know they were, deep into the safety position there. They'd run out of bodies just about, but Jefferson, until the point where he got, tossed out of the game. And I guess you can, debate that a little bit, but at the same time, like they thought they were really cracking some heads in that game.
Yeah, they came out to be physical and aggressive, and it worked. And the other thing I would say is the Chargers are getting, really good play out of their edge guys. Bosa moves on. And so I think some people are kind of wondering, what does that look like now? Max, a year older, is Tuli Tuipulotu ready for that next step? Well, he clearly is. He's got 12 sacks. He's been awesome. And then Max got like 5.5, but still you can't move him. He had a key play on Mahomes. He got a sack where he beat him to the corner. If Mahomes gets around him, it's a huge run. And then Oweh's got 7 sacks since the trade, Baldy. He didn't have any in Baltimore, 0.
Well, I went up and talked to him before the game because him and Tuli were both working just in pass rush moves. And I just said how much – because, Chuck Smith really trained him in Baltimore. And he really liked Oweh. I know he was stiff coming out of Penn State, didn't play much. But he was really working with them on just turning the corner and two-hand swipes and some of the things. He said that, he's where he's at right now because of Chuck Smith. Now, I'm not taking anything away from what the Chargers are doing, but I felt like they spent 3 years really training him and working him, and we're seeing it pay off right now. It takes some time, but you get 20 sacks out of those two guys, and I know the organization, but I mean Khalil is just the ultimate pro in everything that he does. How he
came back quick from injury,
and he still got all the power that he had coming out of Buffalo. I was actually talking to Mike Devlin about it because he still conducts himself in a very humble manner. I just think maybe if you come out of Florida and you're not a 5-star and you got to go to the University of Buffalo to go play and you have a big game against Ohio State that might help get you drafted, like maybe you never forget those roots. Like you got to go play at the University of Buffalo and weather like we saw yesterday, for a Florida kid, that can't be the most fun. But I mean, they drafted him right, but here he is, and whatever year this is for him, man, like he's still producing.
Hey, no doubt. We need to get to the Chiefs side of this thing here before we take a pause. But look, it didn't go well for him this year. I mean, you have some injuries along the offensive line, but I wouldn't necessarily say that was the death knell to this team. No. It didn't look right when they had their offensive line whole.
I didn't feel like they had no ability to get explosive plays, DJ. And when you have an offensive line that's struggling and you commit a lot of penalties, like it's just hard to really march down the field in 10 or 12 play drives. They're not a good enough running team to be able to like balance it up. And so it just came down to Mahomes just trying to, make, splash plays, and they just weren't good enough at it.
Yeah, I think the kind of, look, Trey Smith not being out there is a big part of that. He helps their run game for sure, but they don't have a big-time back. There's nobody in that backfield that makes you worry, and so you're not getting the explosives. So now teams are being able to put a lid on you, and they're not having to put extra resource down there, and you still can't run the ball. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they try and revamp this thing in the offseason. But I do feel like they need a big-time back, whether that's in free agency or whether that's expending a resource in the draft. But they got to get better there, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
All right, Baldy, this was a huge one. Big matchup, Green Bay and Denver. Green Bay was in a pretty good spot early in this ball game, and Denver came back. Bo Nix, I thought this was the best game of his NFL career. I thought he played great, but a big win for Denver.
Well, it was 23-14 Green Bay. They're in the third quarter, and they take that deep shot to Watson that he got hurt on. There's Surtain. Like, it's just a perfect – they kind of bracketed him to begin with, and then the safety broke off, and Surtain was right where he needed to be, and he just made this Surtain-type play. I mean, just jumped in front. It wasn't a bad throw by Jordan Love. It was just a great play by Surtain. I felt like that was the turning point of the game right there. They ended up taking that ball down and scored in the next 2 drives to take control of the game. Denver wasn't having to deal with Parsons at that point. But Bo Nix, like that class is really good. It's really good. I mean, what Caleb's doing, what Bo's doing, what Jaden did last year, but Bo Nix, like the guy never, ever looks tired. Like he's just one of those guys that can just run around if he has to.
Baldy, if you played behind the Auburn offensive line that he played behind before he transferred to Oregon, you get in really good shape. You get really good shape running around like that.
I didn't get a chance to watch much of that football like you did there. But I mean, it's really remarkable what they're doing with him. And Sutton really looked like a number 1 corner yesterday. They really used him in a way. But it's really. We've seen Troy Franklin step up right now, and I mean, I just feel like this is going to be a tough out for anybody in the AFC right now. The way that they played that game yesterday.
I was looking at it, and everybody had said there was a lot of conversation when the draft was taking place with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. It was that he's got his Drew Brees, and I remember arguing at the time. Like,
I'm glad you did.
He leans a little bit more towards Taysom Hill than maybe even towards Drew Brees. He's got, there's some of the Brees, like in terms of the intelligence and the competitiveness, all that kind of stuff. But the athleticism and kind of just a playmaking type guy. Drew is going to beat you in the pocket on time and with like touch throws, like those layer throws, up and down throws. Like when you watch him, it is the exact opposite. Actually, remember when Kaepernick had his little run there, where it was all drive throws, like firm drive throws, and then it was scramble around, make something happen. Like that's kind of how he does a lot of that stuff.
He gets to the top of his drop, and if the ball's not out of his hands, he's moving.
Yes.
But he makes good decisions. He doesn't get hit a lot. And, he keeps plays alive. And so I think everybody's learning how to play with him right now, so that helps. And on the other side, you look at Zach Allen yesterday, John Franklin Myers. They are 8 deep on that defensive front. They had 10 quarterback hits between John Franklin Myers and Zach Allen yesterday, and they chase everything. Jordan Love is very athletic, trying to climb the pocket. Those guys, they bumped him and hit him. Didn't rough him up at all, but they got to him. They were around him that entire second half when they had to try to throw the ball to get back into the game.
Flip that over to the other side. You know how many times they hit Jordan Love in that game? Sorry. How many times they hit Bo Nix? 3 times. No sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Yeah. And a lot of that's Bo Nix moving around, but the offensive line did a nice job as well. They couldn't get to him. That was a big part of that. But again, it's go balls, drive balls, scrambles. That's what they've been doing there. The positive, I'll give you a positive on the Green Bay side of things. Sometimes, when you think, gosh, maybe I was wrong about a player, and then you watch something and you go, maybe this dude just needs to get some more opportunities. Can we get Matthew Golden the ball a little bit? 3 for 55 in this game. He looks explosive. He makes an unbelievable adjustment down the field on outside ball. It's a little bit underthrown. Then you see him on a dig and you can see the burst and the juice. I'm like, okay, I've been disappointed with the production because he hadn't really done a whole heck of a lot. He hasn't been on the field much. He's not been playing.
No.
So
and I didn't know if he was hurt, inactive. I didn't know what it was, but he had no production over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, but I'm watching that going, okay, no, it's in there. He's got the ability. And look, let's be patient. Let's see, how long it takes. But I still am not going to give up on that one. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player. How about the shootout here of Detroit and the Rams? The Rams end up holding on 41-34. I'll give you a couple receiver thoughts here. Watched Amon-Ra and Puka, which was fun.
That was the game within the game.
Oh, it's so fun to watch him play. Both those guys are so fun to
route
watch.
Runners, the ball's in the air, it's their ball. The way they
skinny post, Amon-Ra on a skinny post it's so pretty, man. And the ball, their timing with their quarterbacks, and this goes to your point I think you're making here is that when you have talent and intelligence in a quarterback and in a receiver, you get something special, man, because they get on the same wavelength and they have elite ability.
Well, Detroit's on the outside looking in right now. They have not stacked 2 wins together since October 5th, so 2.5 months. But if they do get on any kind of a roll, and they have the ability to do it, that would be a fun matchup to see in the postseason because I feel like it's going to be a shootout regardless. No matter, I don't think the Rams can really slow them down the way that they attack and the way that they can protect. As good as that front is with the Rams, they're still good enough to give Jared Goff enough time to find his receivers, whether it's Jameson. The one thing that was really pretty alarming, though, in watching that game is how they shut Jahmyr Gibbs down. He did not get loose. I think the longest run he had was maybe 8 yards. And I think that's one thing I think maybe Detroit was counting on was to get Jahmyr just popping him on some of those runs the way he's capable of doing it.
Well, I think they're going to try and take that away, and they were going to live with whatever danger came in the past game. And look, they made plays. Goff made big throws. Amon-Ra was great. Puka on the other side, drive routes, double moves. Have you seen anybody that's more comfortable working in the middle of the field than he is right now? He doesn't take a peek.
He could play in that era when the safeties were just unloading on people. Yeah. He could probably play. He could just play, but his hands, when he gets his hands on a ball, it doesn't matter what the defender is doing. He's coming up with the ball. Every 50-50 ball, it looks like he comes up with it. And it makes it look like it's been his all along. There is no defender, Amik Robertson, whoever's trying to cover him. They're not getting it. He's taking it away.
Let me ask you about, this is an aggressive comparison, but I know you had been around this player. You see any at all of Chris Carter and Puka Nacua?
Yeah. I mean, Carter had
he swallow
the
big
ball. Hands. He had huge hands and a lot of one-handed catches, and he didn't have. Puka might, like, Chris really couldn't run very good.
Yeah, Puka's not super fast either.
He didn't need to, but like Puka, like that was the knock. But there's some comparison there because they're going to come up. They're going to come up with the ball. They're just going to out physical you for the ball. The other part is just the production of the Ram tight ends, all of them. It doesn't matter if it's Parkinson in the year that he's having, or Higbee, or Allen, or the rookie Ferguson. Like, they get more out of their tight ends, I think, than any other team right now. And in the run game too, like, they're really responsible for blocking the edges and, just getting those safeties out of the hole, and the nosy safeties that are trying to stop your run. Like, they do a good job of getting a guy on them.
And no doubt. Let's just get a couple thoughts here on a few more games, and we can roll through these. Your Phillip Rivers takeaway. Seattle, they come back and win a crazy game, 18-16. What's your takeaway on old man Rivers out there?
He didn't embarrass himself. That's kind of what, like, they could have probably played that game. They held them to 6 field goals. The Colts defense did what they had to do. I don't think you could have asked for a whole lot more for what you asked of him to do. And so he threw the ball, to some guys he's probably never thrown to except for Thursday or Friday practice, and Josh Downs and Ty Warren. He made a couple of throws that kept him in the game. And I thought it was going to be a lot worse for him than it was.
Yeah, I mean, I joked around, about the amount of screens that you might see in this game. But they dust it off. They dust it off. We get to get the back. First, we get some angle routes. We're going to whip, mix in a couple of those with the backs. Get some quick screens. We're going to get the tight ends out early, get them the ball. It was just kind of a game of keep away. They were playing. They weren't able. I mean, that's a great defense. They weren't able to pop the runs. I think they really would have had to have an unbelievable run game performance to get a win there. But man, he made just enough plays. Made a back shoulder throw there to give him a field goal opportunity, and the defense couldn't hold on. But Seattle's kind of. I mean, they've got this Thursday night game, Baldy. I mean, they've got a chance to win this division.
No doubt.
Right there.
I mean, it's going to come down to this game for the most part. And you don't know what that defense is capable of doing, just because that secondary is so talented and the way that they can blitz and pressure. Like, if you get to Stafford and you put him down, or you force a couple of pop-ups and there's no Devontae out there, which he won't be out there. Like, I could see Witherspoon being on Nacua, and then you could change it up. Like, they've got real chess pieces.
Eamon with the tight ends.
I think that's some real chess pieces to really limit some of the receivers and some of the passing game. The guy that's really come on over the last month for the Rams, though, has been Corum, and they really have a good 1-2 punch there. So we'll see. And in Seattle's run defense, like, those horses up front, they've been awesome.
Yeah, it's fun to watch that. All right, Jets, Jags. Jets just fired their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes. I don't really need to get into the Jets, but how about the Jags? They 48-20. I was there for the rebirth of that franchise when the Chargers came in there after the bye, and then they just went to town, and they have not slowed down since then. They are on a roll as much as anybody right now.
When was the last time, DJ, you saw a running back catch 3 touchdown passes?
I can't think of one. I
couldn't think of it. I was going
Larry Centers. I guarantee you Larry Centers has done that at some point in time.
All right, I know he had 100 catches one year. Maybe he did it. Maybe LT did it in some game. I was trying to just go through my Rolodex. But he beat the Jets on 3 different. He beat them on a Texas route. He beat them on a little switch route on the outside with Jacoby Myers. And then he beat them on a screen where every single offensive lineman was 40 yards downfield for the touchdown to celebrate. I don't think Trevor could play any better. I know you could. There's no way, and I've got all the rosters here, DJ. There's no way you could possibly know who was playing the secondary for the Jets. Nobody. Like, I didn't know who some of those guys were. I'm so it was a preseason roster for the Jets defense. But the good part is Jacksonville didn't They didn't waste any time.
No,
and that's what they're doing with these bad teams. They're just putting them away. They're not letting them even sniff the field right now.
Yeah, it's like, when it's the night before trash day, I tell my son, hey, we don't need to wait till midnight. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Get those trash cans up to the curb, man. They did not mess around in that one. Last thought here, Minnesota, Dallas. Man, that's a crucial loss for the Cowboys. And J.J. McCarthy had a nice performance after an early turnover.
Well, he has played really well the last 2 games, or maybe is it 3? I mean, the last 2 weeks, he's looking like he's turning the corner. He's not turning it over. He's not seeing ghosts. He's making good decisions. Like, he's kind of looking like the guy. Now, these games don't mean as much as they did earlier in the season. So maybe, but I thought all the guys, Bullard, Greenard, and Andrew Van Ginkel, and all those guys gave Dak and the offense a great deal of problems. The defense looked like it was just a complete team effort right there in what they were able to do. You didn't see much from Pickens in that game. So I felt like Dallas, after a couple of weeks where they looked a little promising, like they've just completely fallen off.
Yeah, I'll be there to see them this next week here. Chargers go to take on the Cowboys in a huge game for the Chargers, and the Cowboys are holding on for dear life here. I think if Green Bay wins one game, I think they're out. So it's not looking great for the Cowboys and their postseason chances here. Hey, Baldy, this was fun, man. We'll get Bucky back with us next week and do this all over again. But appreciate it. It was great seeing you yesterday, by the way. Thanks,
you too, DJ. I just got to tell you that I did waste an hour of my time today watching the Eagles beat the Raiders. That's the worst team I've seen in a long time.
Well, they have 60 something yards of total offense.
I mean, they threw a couple checkdowns, completed a couple checkdowns, but I mean, honestly, like to a man, they don't know how to set it. I mean, it was just bad football. And so
I talked to somebody with the Eagles during the week, and they were, coming off a disappointing loss to the Chargers, and like, we just gotta. I'm like, there's nothing to worry about. And I don't think you guys.
Well, here's
will take the week off and beat the Raiders.
They dusted off the Super Bowl playbook. They threw it 15 times and they ran it 47 times. And they took the gas off the pedal in the entire fourth quarter. They could have scored 50. So
380 yards to 75, Baldy, in that game.
I haven't seen anything that one-sided in a long time.
Yeah. I remember they used to do the thing in the pregame when the Raiders were in Oakland. They would put up that old school video, and it would say there are 31 teams in the National Football League, and then there's the Oakland Raiders. And I was like, well, yeah, kind of, actually.
That's what it looked like. I don't know.
Not a compliment. Yeah. Not a compliment. All right, man. You're the best, buddy. We'll see you next week.
You got it, DJ. Take care, man.
There goes Baldy. Always enjoy these Mondays. I hope you guys enjoy them as well. We will see you tomorrow right here on Move the Sticks.